big event, the I guess the feast, we'll call it, the eclipse, the birth. Eclipse. I don't know what you want to call it. It's everything.
Yeah.
It all happens.
So how fast did you read this? It seems like you powered through.
So the first book, I guess, like, first of all, this is going to be a discussion you and I have, like, for the whole ending. The way, if you're listening to this after, is this will be part 1 for you, which is volume 12. And then part 2 will be volume 13 and the couple chapters that are in 14 to end off the Golden Age era. So this one specifically, I guess the first book or whatever, volume 12, I went through very, very quickly. I don't think there's, for a bit, a lot visually to go on. It's a lot of, what's the word I should use? It's not a lot, like dialogue or talking or any of that stuff. What a lot of it is just the story powering forward into the final act here. Because we kind of had like the big fight thing with the demon and then Zod coming in. This is right after, where everybody's just kind of standing there looking for answers, or because everybody now knows Griffith is like basically a living skeleton, like completely just useless, broken, and their spirits are broken. They're kind of all just like, what the fuck is going on? What are we going to do or whatever? And there's like a little bit of discussion between like what they're going to do about all this, and Griffith kind of overhears a bunch of this stuff happening. Has this weird moment where he like attacks Casca. It's hard to say what he's exactly trying to do because he can't do anything except fall on her.
Yeah, I mean the read I take, and I think it's like the popular take. Again, we don't Griffith can't fucking talk, and we don't get a lot of inner monologue from him, so we don't know what he's thinking for most of this. But yeah, like tries to, I mean, in his state, saying force himself sounds like he can't force anything, but yeah, that's the take.
It definitely feels like it's a rape attempt that was never going to happen.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, we've discussed, like, he very likely does not have the tools to do any of that.
Sure,
if you catch my drift. Like, yeah, but it's because that's after because he sees Guts and Casca talking, and like
her
close. her putting like her head on his shoulder and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like, is this kind of, I guess, theoretically his way of trying to like steal something? Like, he hates Guts here, but also doesn't. Like, it's all there, right? So is this kind of like trying to, I don't know, not
there's
necessarily
like
hurt him in, like, I don't know.
It's not even, it's kind of like, I mean, I would draw some parallels to like the Charlotte situation almost, right? Like, just being so disheveled, something like his plans get fucked up. Like, he loses something that he can't really register at the surface of his mind that's important, and he acts very stupidly to try to like take back some kind of agency that he feels has been taken from him. So like, I would say it's like a mix of that, right? Like,
I guess, yeah.
He's trying to exert power over someone, which he like clearly cannot do in basically any form right now. And then also the thing of like trying to the thing with like trying to like kind of get back at Guts, who he's spent like the better part of a year blaming and loving, and then also like just establishing himself over Casca or whatever, because he knows that, I'm sure he knows, like, how could you be unaware of how she's felt?
Yeah,
maybe he doesn't, I don't fucking know, but you would
I don't
think.
know. Yeah, it's hard to tell, honestly. It's hard to tell. Who knows? We got some conversation, Guts and Judo talking some I don't know, just some good shit about how, like, no matter what, the Hawks are still here. Like, we'll survive or whatever. We'll look after Griffith. Like, yeah, he even says, I'm still a Hawk or whatever. But you're different. The whole, like, idea that, like, you and Casca should go because you have stuff that might, like, be out there for you. Like, this is where we belong, sort of thing. We're still the band of the Hawks, and we still have Griffith here and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's just a bunch of that. I guess we get Gaston back to chat a little bit, which is always a bad sign when you bring somebody back who had who had big dreams.
These guys are like family to me now.
Yeah. There's definitely, like, it was super readable that, oh, good, you brought back a guy with a name that said how after all this is done, he's going to settle down and do some, like, nice things that Guts really likes. I'm sure he's not going to die immediately.
Yeah. So there was a line, well, we get Guts saying, why do I, like, he's thinking about the, you know, the conversation he had with Judo ages ago, like, finding the place where he belongs, and he's like, why do I always see these things after they're done and gone, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he runs into Casca, who is like crying after her encounter with Griffith, which, like, no, I mean, she's like, just,
it's kind of an interesting thing here because she obviously knows or has, like, an idea of what just transpired or, like, tried to, but that's not exactly the reason why she's crying. We find out it's more the fact that it's like he couldn't do anything. Like, he's so nothing anymore. We can't leave him. Like, I can't leave him or whatever. I can't go with you. And, like, it's more just that whole idea that, I don't know, I guess everything all your hopes and dreams and stuff were just, like, are dead in front of you. Like, you just realize the gravity of the situation. Not least of which the whole, like, I guess attempted rape or molestation or whatever was going on there, but just the fact that, like, it's over. Like, all of the grand ideas and stuff, it's all over or whatever. The important part here is that we finally get the, like, you're Griffith's friend and equal. Like, you have to go out. You have to, like, follow, like, the dream thing and all that sort of stuff like that. Like, it's your responsibility now to continue.
And they go through that conversation again, just, I guess, in, like thinking about it, I suppose, from Guts' point of view, but Griffith is also hearing this full conversation.
This is an earshot of, because she was kind of, I guess, just right outside the carriage. So this is she was like, right there.
Yeah, she was like, he just fell asleep, like he's a fucking baby or whatever, but he was not asleep.
And we go into a chapter called Back Alley Boy, and this is where we get Griffith's stuff. Like, huge.
So the thing, one of the things that I noticed rereading this is we get Guts saying, "Why do I always see these things after they're done and gone?"
Yeah.
I have a take, and I feel like it's one of those things where you could like argue both sides. At the last page of this chapter of the Warriors of Twilight, as our thing translates, when they say that quote again, when I went back through it, I'm like, I feel like this is from Griffith's point of view almost. No? Because like we were seeing like the stuff, we were seeing like Griffith thinking about stuff, and like Casca saying, if you're Griffith's friend and equal, you have to go, all that stuff, and then even if it's alone, you have to go. I don't know. At the very least, I feel like it could be taken.
It's pretty
to be either.
Yeah, it almost feels like who is thinking it doesn't matter because it's just kind of the situation. It's like a collective thought right now, almost.
Yeah,
between these three, I guess, because there's like a little bit of the Casca thing there too, right? Like she had the dream with Griffith. She sees that that's dead. Then she kind of had a little bit of one with like, maybe I can just like go on the run with Guts or whatever. But with Griffith this way, she still has that responsibility. Like her dreams are dead here too, honestly. Guts is the only one that really can just like get up, walk away, and like live a fulfilling life swinging his sword.
When your dream is being the strongest.
Well,
instead of that fancy bullshit, like having a dumb castle.
That's its own curse, though, right? Because you never will be. That's kind of the thing. Is that there's always a Super Saiyan level higher than you that you have to attain, and it just goes on forever until nobody cares about the series anymore. So it's just the way of things. Yeah.
We get Griffith seeing his old self.
This chapter is extremely hard to follow in a way that I think is good, because it is very much the dive into insanity and like not even knowing if this is... You don't know what's real here, what's in his mind, and what actually happened, specifically with the past stuff. Like here, we obviously know that there's not a version of him talking to himself. That's all very much in his mind.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. But we kind of get the flashback to when he was a kid or whatever. Then we get like a flash forward or a side flash or parallel universe where he's like married to Casca with Guts as his kid. And there's just like a whole bunch of just weird thoughts and memories kind of melding together. And in between all that stuff, he's kind of like stealing the carriage somehow, using a rotting crop in his teeth, launching himself off, I guess accidentally probably, and then like tries killing himself. So like that's the whole chapter, but the way it's mashed together is such a fucking fever dream to go through.
Yes.
It's fucked. It's really hard to follow.
Yeah. I mean, he's like seeing like what would like the current future, right? Like, oh, Casca's gonna stay with him, and then like I think in this future he's clearly like after being tortured, right? Like he's just sitting there like a fucking, like he can't move, like his arms at his side like that. That's the impression I got.
Well, yeah. So part of this is the way I was kind of reading it is this is the force of the Beherit kind of, or like demon stuff kind of seeping into his mind and showing him, I don't know, maybe something more I think he's being fucked with here a little bit, because I don't understand how all of this is even a thing that could be possible in his state. There's no way he would ever be able to live to the point where he's normal sitting at a table.
I mean, he's also like, even with him taking the carriage where he's like, I rested a bit too long, I've got to go now. His playtime still isn't over. Like, that cobblestone path still goes on. And then when he's after he's been thrown from the carriage and he's like looking at his fucking broken, battered, useless arm, and he just starts laughing because he realized, like, he's also not, like, he can't have kids in his state. Like, that whole fantasy with Casca, that's like also impossible. Like, he can't even have a normal, quiet home life, and he can't have his dream. So like, then there's that branch.
Yeah, it's weird. A thing I think that I didn't I realized it while I was reading it, but a thing that hasn't really happened yet, it's happened a couple times here and there, that it starts doing a absolute fuck ton starting with this chapter, is it has effects written in, so you can kind of like almost picture the sounds that are happening. For example, the like clatta 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 or whatever of the horse going away, and then the like weird ka-dunk sound or something of them like looking over. It's so weird because that shit not only is like big here, but it continues on, and I think that stuff adds a lot to some of the grossness that's about to happen with all the demon shit. Like, being able to kind of get an idea of how it sounds is horrifying.
Yeah, dude.
And is this just because the publishers of this English version finally decided to put the English sound effect for the like onomatopoeia shit going on in the panel?
I got no idea.
Because I think it is, right?
If it's like they decide to do it going, I can't honestly think about if they continue doing it a lot going forward, or if it's just for this stuff because it's so important.
Right. It's just, like, I noticed that every panel that has that like written onomatopoeia in it in Japanese now has an effects translation of what that would mean.
Yeah.
Which
I would think
before.
It's just because before they haven't been. No, I would say it's because it's like important.
Yeah, I guess like it's hard to tell because I mean you would know, but like I just read this. This is new to me, so I don't know going forward if they continue that or not. But it was just something I noticed.
I can't remember. I certainly the first time I read through this, like I was like, oh shit, Guts is fighting stuff.
Yeah, I mean there is a lot to take in though. To be fair.
Oh yeah. It's much more nuanced as I'm reading this again. Like, just such a different place in life.
Sure, that makes a big difference too, for sure.
And Griffith picks up that Beharit. That shit's back, man.
He lands into some weird, like, little lake puddle shallow thing or whatever. Like, after flying, there's, like, this awesome scene of him flying through the air that's kind of super majestic, and I love how it ends with just, like, him landing in the water super far from where he launched from, and his arm just being broken, like you said, like bending the wrong way, and him just kind of smiling about it or laughing about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's that fucking arm is gross.
This whole part is insane. Just the insane laughter, seeing a spiky rock coming out of the water, and then just like lining up his neck and shoving his head down into it.
But he still like fucks it up.
Yeah.
Like sort of the last, like you can't even do that fully.
Yeah, it's a super rough thing. Knowing what I know is about to happen, like I just think good. He should feel every bit of pain right now because fuck this piece of shit. But the double page spread of him after fucking it up or whatever and just sitting there like breathing heavy or like making weird unintelligible sounds because he can't talk, and there's kind of a beautiful sky.
Yeah, it's like the sunset and just the majestic clouds and all that shit.
I super wish this was colored because I think it would look awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I looked online, there's probably like a painted version people have done.
I mean, this, and then it's getting a tiny bit ahead, but like at the start of the next chapter, him holding the Beherit with his arm like across the sun. That's like, that's the image. Like that's fucking easily in like the top 3, if not just number 1 for like pictures taken from this.
Sure.
Manga.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, he finds the Beherit just kind of laying in the water there as he looks down in disappointment that he's still alive, breathing heavy or whatever, picks it up. And that's kind of how we start the next chapter. That picture is very cool. I like it a lot. Him holding it with just the fucked up arm.
Yeah.
I kind of wish there wasn't the ... exclamation mark there, because then it would be super clean, but whatever.
I'm sure someone has cleaned it up.
Yeah. Man. Okay. This is just a blur now into the end of shit happening, because good lord.
Well, we got Guts coming, right?
Yeah.
The one, was it me, the one who drove you? Was I the one who brought all this upon you? What should I do? Once I catch up to you, what then? What can I do? All this. Fucking Casca is also feeling bad as they're riding. Like, I never thought we'd be overheard by him.
Yeah.
The fucking eclipse starts. And another thing that I didn't pick up on, even so, I read this I don't know how many weeks ago as we got near to this section of stuff, because I wanted to be prepped, so I like burned through all this just in case. Sure. And then like I forget how many days ago it was where I'm like, I read it all again.
It was when we recorded the last one, which I think was like Sunday. It was less than a week ago. Yeah,
like right after we recorded the last episode, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Did it again. And that was when I noticed like some more of this stuff.
Okay.
So when Guts is coming towards Griffith, and we get Griffith is monologue, thinking, not monologue, but inner monologue, thinking like, stay away. Yeah. We can come back to some of this art and shit because it's cool as hell, obviously. But
yeah, we should almost just blaze through what happens and then talk about like big art moments all the great in between shit after. Yeah.
So I mean, Guts is getting closer. We get more of the demon shit, and Griffith is just like, stay away.
Yeah.
If you touch me now, if you put your hand on my shoulder now, I'll never. And we don't get the never again with you, but we don't get the full like meaning of that, right?
Oh yeah, like, I kind of didn't understand actually what this was referring to.
So I initially, when I had read this, there were my initial times, I was taking it as like never forgive you sort of deal, like never something. I still don't fully know what that exact line is supposed to mean. But I realized like we have like the prophecy or whatever about like when his ambition crumbles, right? And then we know from reading the Black Swordsman arc that
there it is, mark the bingo spot on.
The Beherit, it activates like when you're at your lowest, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not necessarily like highest point. It could be highest point of despair, like whatever your lowest is for you.
Emotion.
I don't think it. Yeah, I don't think
it's the strongest emotion you have.
Yeah, and the thing I noticed going back through this was, I think for Griffith, it was like Guts putting his hand on Griffith's shoulder was literally like the moment when Griffith's dream like fully died and Guts fully replaced it. Like it was Guts fully replacing the dream of the castle within that moment. And that's like what caused his ambition to die. Like that's again open to interpretation, but like that's how I was taking it.
I could see that. I also kind of had an interpretation of this was the moment that the despair of realizing that he's no longer above Guts. Guts is no longer the one trying to like match him. He's super low. Guts is the one consoling him here.
That, yeah, totally valid.
Like kind of almost like a hatred moment of like, you should be lower than me sort of thing, right? Like we're not equals, and this is kind of the moment that like all of that is just extremely intense for him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And like, I mean, from what we know of Griffith, which is not much, like that dude does not like being like, he probably does not like being like shifted out of position, right? Because he said before, like there's the kind of like natural order shit, right? Like some people are destined to be better. Like that's just how it is. And it clearly was referring to himself in that comment. And now, he's here. So I could totally see that.
I just realized the Beherit actually starts like making a sound or something immediately after the panel of Guts in his eye, and not like while he was actually in despair. I think it definitely is Guts and him being together that activated it 100%.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to interpret it. I think, honestly, the way these two are, it's probably both.
Oh, dude, it could. Yeah, no, there's definitely like a list of things that it could be, and then at the bottom, it's like all of the above.
Yeah,
just everything.
Yeah, we get the sickest shit of the Beherit. Just like,
dude,
a small close up of it, the eyes cracking open, it starting to make a face, and then howling while just like this sonic wave moves all the water around them, encapsulates Guts, and like,
dude,
fuck.
How? So like the top panel where it's moving the waterway, like the top panel where it's screaming, that's like, it looks like fucking Majora's Mask, like rip that shit straight. Like that's what it reminded me of.
I can hear that panel,
dude, right?
Yeah, it's
I do want to circle back,
of course, just there's quickly, so much cool shit,
because like that Eclipse double spread with Griffith in the foreground and all the demon silhouettes, like mild like human demon silhouettes, like zombies almost. That shit is fucking cool.
There's so much cool shit here. I'm gonna go even further back where it starts and everybody comes up on the hill. There's a side-by-side panel, them taking up the lower third, I guess, a little more than a third of the page, and it's split in half where it just kind of shows them looking up at it, Griffith with his helm and Guts right beside him, looking up. I just think that's awesome. And then from there to the next one of him just Griffith standing in front of the like eclipse as it's happening. Oh my god. It is so fucking cool.
It's very good. Can I get a little curtains are blue with you for a moment?
Okay, yeah.
And that side by side shot, we're getting Guts at like a lower angle looking up at him, and Griffith's looking down at him a little. Normally when we're seeing Griffith, it's like on a fucking pedestal.
Yeah.
But no. I don't know that is intentional, but like, fuck it.
Why not, right? Why not?
And then all these demon, or zombie things, like...
So this is straight up ripped from every Souls game. The dark sign is the Eclipse. In the Souls game, what it is the fire of humanity kind of being eclipsed by the darkness or whatever. It's the same fucking idea, though. It's the dark sign is the burning circle with the black interior. That's 100% completely ripped from this.
I literally just saw something and someone was like, I got a Dark Souls tattoo, and it was like the outline of like that ring or whatever. I didn't even make the connection. Oh my god.
They even used this scene of people hollowing and kind of like aimlessly in the dark, like these zombies. This is 100% ripped and used in Dark Souls, and it's fucking dope there too. But yeah.
No, this shit is super cool.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is getting a little ahead of ourselves, but the hollows are essentially the people demons or whatever in Dark Souls. They're looking for those with like that radiant energy and light. They're addicted to it, which I mean is we're gonna find out is guts and people like that. The brand of sacrifice, I guess. There's brands straight up in Dark Souls that like Dark Souls is very much this manga from here on out, just straight up. It's so cool. I'm so happy.
Dude, it's also fun like reading this in the context of like knowing that I'll be talking about it with you, right?
Yeah.
So like when they go to when the Beharit like screams and all the water goes away, and then the next double spread is all the fucking demon faces in the sky, and I was like, this is some Paul shit. This is where it starts.
The souls of the damned just like encapsulating the sky or whatever. Yeah,
the entire sky just blotted the fuck out, and the landscape, like the land below them, is just the fucking heads and faces so good. And shit.
So this is also a thing that's been, I'm gonna try to point out like a lot of stuff I've seen this stuff in that have been stolen from this. There is a board game called Kingdom Death that uses the aesthetic of the landscape being like human faces and skeletons and masks. That is straight up from this. Also, Kingdom Death just in general has so many things that are very, very similar. Kingdom Death is dope. It's so fucking cool. It is one of those board games, though, that you need people to, like, play with and, like, $1,000 for minis. It's one of those big-ass ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, they steal a lot of just kind of this whole scene of damned, just like the ground is faces and weird monsters and stuff. Like one of the first monsters you fight in that game, in that board game, is a lion with like a giant mouth for its stomach or whatever.
Hell yeah.
Just shit like that. And that is so very much obviously inspired by this. It's insane.
Yeah.
The mountains are now people heads as well. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
This whole area is now demon land. So welcome to hell, bitch.
And then we jump back to Reichert, who's like met some people, and we meet Puck.
Yeah, we officially,
little
I guess
boy.
This would officially be the first time we meet Puck, even though because we read Black Swordsman, we know who this character is. This is definitely one of those situations that none of this makes any sense, and you don't give a shit because they show Puck in just kind of shadows for a bunch of time. And if you didn't read it, you don't know. So this is one of those ones that you get more, I think, out of this reveal from reading it appropriately.
Yeah, we get like some fortune. I mean, it's like nothing really new because it's like, oh, there's like darkness swirling around a white star. Like, okay, yeah. That tracks.
So this is kind of interesting because I like when Japanese folklore or like ideas are written into this stuff and we kind of get an interpretation of that. So the fortune teller in this like group of gypsies or traveling mystics or whatever the fuck pick them up. I guess it's like a circus almost of some sort.
Yeah. Caravan.
A caravan, yeah. Says it's Kato. No, is it Rago? A giant white star being concealed by the moon's conjunction. Obviously, this makes no sense if you don't know like stuff from, I don't know, Mira's background or Japanese stuff or whatever. So they write kind of like an explanation for us English noobs here. So the star that suddenly appears in the night sky and scares people off is called Kato. A star that steals light from the sun or moon and causes an eclipse is called Rago. Along with other imaginary stars, they are ancient legends, and conjunction is a new moon. And
yeah. Oh, that shit is cool.
That stuff is super cool. That like I just like when I'm into something, it teaches me a little thing I just think is neat. I just wanted to call that out.
Yeah, no, that stuff is super interesting.
Yeah. This part, I was kind of like, really? You need a crystal ball? Look at the sky, bitch. But they're not quite there yet, so I get it.
Yeah.
They do get there in like a page.
The fucking important thing is we get that full page of Puck saying, "I'll bet some big god or devil or something is peeking through that hole," and we get the fucking classic eye shot, but it's the eclipse. It's fucking good.
It's really, really good. This whole thing with Reichert is just setting up where he was or how he's gonna like join the party. Essentially, none of this is super important, but because like right after we get all this stuff, it just leads right back into hell.
Yeah, no, it's just establishing like where Reichert is, because like we last saw him getting his fucking mind scarred when everybody got murked by those demons.
Yeah. I love this scene where Gus is just like, what happened? And there's those faces everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, dude. Right? What happened?
I mean, like, Corcus comes to a reasonable conclusion. He's like, did we... Where are we dead?
Yeah. I really like that that they have the whole Band of the Hawk here for it too. Like, obviously there was probably going to be something like that happening, but I like the amount of like people freaking out, and obviously like the murder that's about to happen. Like, it makes sense why they're all there, because they're all going to die in some way, surely. None of this was a surprise. In fact, I'm going to preface where we go from here to say I feel a little bit bad, because I was definitely not as shocked or disgusted as I think I should have been the way people talk about this.
That kind of makes sense. Like, I managed, because I knew fuck all, right? So I came into this like not having any damn idea what was gonna happen, and like, that's rough when you have no idea like what Berserk is actually about. And you just watch the anime and it ends like this, and you're like, what?
Yeah,
like, that's what like destroyed my soul, because I had truly no idea.
Okay, I get it now, because we'll talk about this at the very, very end as kind of a tease for what's coming up next. I watched the first episode of the anime, and that thing is so different in tone that I actually feel like I could probably watch it with my girlfriend fine. Like, she seemed okay, and I was just like, oh yeah, this is way cleaner than the comic, and it's only been one episode, so I'm sure it's going to be way more accessible. My question to you was going to be, does it handle this part?
Yep.
Does it clean it up? Because this is a kind of rough part. Okay, I understand. I now understand why people are freaked out, because I feel like the manga has led us up to this point pretty like, yeah, that tracks. If I watched the anime and the way that they cleaned up, I've only watched the first one, the Black Swordsman episode. The way they cleaned that up, if it went from that to what's about to happen here, that's insane.
Yeah, imagine like the entire just normal 100 men in one night fight bullshit. all of that stuff, normal mercenary fighting, and then they jump to like the only abhorrent act in like the entire thing because they skip all the other shit. Yeah, so like Soul just completely ripped out.
I get it now. I feel like I was led up to this point. Like,
yes,
what happens
in the manga for sure
is still pretty horrendous, but this is a real bad way to say it. It's nothing I haven't seen this manga do before.
Yeah, no, that's like I forget what episode it was when we talked about it, but I'm pretty sure it was while we were recording, where you asked like, is it worse, or like is it worse because of the characters? And I'm like, arguably the characters. Like,
that's the only reason why it was really reprehensible. Well, I mean, the act is reprehensible, but when it happens, it's because I really like that character that I was just like, this hurts in a way that it would still be bad, but it wouldn't hurt as much.
Yeah, no, there's like so many scenes where it's like, if this were a background thing to a no-name, we would be talking about the fucking gore of it, and instead it's like depressing.
Okay, yeah, no, I totally get it. Also, the fact that like they kind of still do this part appropriately in the anime, even though from what I've seen they clean up everything else. I 100% understand why people find what happens here more shocking than I did. So I feel better about it now. I'm like, Jesus, am I a psychopath? It's like, no, I've been led here. Like, I've been led up to this point. So, okay. There is just a lot. It's really hard to talk about this without just saying every scene that looks cool, because it's basically the rest of this arc.
I mean, the big ones, I think the next big scenes here. So like the Band of the Hawk is like tightening their formation, right?
They're getting ready for a fight. Yeah.
Casca gives us words to live by. Don't dwell on what you can't understand. Do what you can do.
So there's a lot of really important points that are made in this series in general. A lot of them happen here. There's like a lot of really cool shit that happens here character wise. A lot of good character stuff goes on here. So, but yes, I love that she just yells "shut up" at Corcus, because I've been wanting somebody to do that. I hate him so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get ready for a fight essentially.
Yeah, because they just see the silhouettes of like the hollow fucking, I don't know what, the shells of people that are like still pretty human in shape.
Yeah, like they are demons. It's hard to explain. I really don't think this is a great thing we're doing for people that haven't read or are reading the manga, the podcast, because so much of it depends on you understanding that when we say like a human demon or something, you understand that it's actually like a human currently, because they haven't broken into demon form.
Yeah, so like they're like fucky humans, but in a silhouette, they don't look abnormal necessarily.
Yeah.
When they show lighting on them, you're like, I don't know if people look like that, but at a distance, you're like, oh, okay.
They definitely are, I think, better referred to as zombies, but just know that they're not weird, slow, shambling zombies the way you think. They are demons in like human suits, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Giant pair of titties.
Oh my god, I love
absolutely
it so much.
Huge. So we get we're starting our introductions to like the Godhand, the 4 members of the Godhand, and like they all have their own little like,
they have their own
entrance
opening sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, and the first one is what's her name? Sloan? Something?
Yeah. I was gonna say Slam, later. But it's not Slam.
I think it's Slan or something.
Yeah. Welcome to
she just kind of like rises up out of the faces, and the shot is like the Eclipse, and then it's like her arching her back with her tits just fucking pointing to the sky.
I love it so much. If I knew that it wouldn't probably like get it flagged on Spotify, that would be the episode image.
Dude, and then just her, like, the feathers coming out, or her wings coming out and, like, eclipsing around her and looking at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
that, like,
so cool.
The fucking... I don't know what page it's on, where the feathers come out and she's, like, leaning to the side or whatever. That's like a Renaissance pose or some shit. Probably not actually Renaissance, but, like... Just looking at the form and stuff, like...
Oh, I don't know about that. That's like a Sports Illustrated pose where they're out of the water flipping their hair. Why not both?
I mean, yeah, it can be both. Like, Renaissance would be corny. The next panel, though, where she's, like, grabbing her tit and has a hand between her legs.
Yeah.
And then just, like... the shit folds. Do we get a the sound effects just
Yeah. So yes, tits, ass, it's all there and it's great. That page specifically though, where the bottom two panels are so fucking dope.
Yeah.
Of like the wings like covering her up. And then it goes into like this weird almost like Batwing version, and I'm just like immediately less interested because I think it looks less cool to me, but whatever.
Yeah, so then it gets to like
like a leather dominatrix thing or something.
The claws of the wings like barely covering nips and vag.
And wearing like a corset or what, I don't know. Very much looks like more some weird bondage fetish thing, which I guess makes sense because demons, where before she kind of looked like an angel.
Dude, the page before that though, where the wings are like covering, the left bottom panel, like, that's just so fucking good.
It's amazing.
That's line work and shading is like fucking incredible. That's
probably why they go for like a more sleek, easy line approach for the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Yeah, because it is really cool otherwise.
So she's there. And then we get out of the sky faces fucking big, I don't even know how to call it, like a blob. Big Papa blob. Just a face like dropping down and coming all at them, and they think they're about to get crushed, and then it just like bloops into this little dude.
Yeah. I don't remember this guy's name, but
I think this is Conrad.
No, Conrad I think is the other one.
Is it? Okay.
I think Conrad's the other fat one. We'll know soon.
Yeah, we'll find out in a few pages, yeah.
Yeah, but it might be. This one, I love his entrance, but he is so like unimpressive as a demon compared to the other three.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get the opposite effect where the other fat one, I'll say, kind of like bloops up from the ground.
Yeah, like one of the, like there's all the faces and then one of them starts lifting up.
Yeah.
And he gets his own body. That's how you know he's an important demon.
Totally, yeah.
And then Void, like...
Yeah, Void's an easy one to remember.
Yeah. Like, he just comes... Like, if you can imagine the Eclipse, and then, like, the Eclipse being, like, the circle being where, like, his head should be, and, like, this form kind of materializes out of the shadows.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of translucence, and then eventually he comes into form, and he's just kind of, like...
The best way I would describe
on top
him,
of a skull.
If you think of a classical kind of representation or video game representation of Dracula or that form in a cloak, but instead of like a human head, it is a zombie face with a Martian brain. That's kind of what he is.
Yeah, it's a good description. He has like hooks pulling away the sides of his mouth.
Yeah, the actual thing he looks like is a Cenobite from Hellraiser, but that's not exactly a thing most people might just immediately get their mind to, but like very I would be surprised if some of that stuff wasn't, or if this didn't inspire some of that stuff with the hooks pulling away skin and showing like the bones and stuff. So I'd be super surprised. Oh wait, this might have come out a while after, so maybe this was inspired by that. Who knows? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's a few other things we'll get to that like this took inspiration from.
Sure, yeah. Super cool shit though.
Yeah, no, it's this entire sequence is just fucking dope.
Yep.
And then we get a lot of stuff like the demons roll out. Void is kind of like our leader. He's the head demon, and he's all like, "Welcome to the festival." And then he immediately and then he starts immediately fucking talking about the laws of, is it pronounced causality?
Yeah, causality.
Okay. Don't hear that out loud.
At least that's how I've always known it. Did you have something else in mind with how
I didn't, but I've read it like 8 million times in this manga. Not much elsewhere. He starts talking about causality. The honorable child consecrated by the laws of causality, the Hawk. And then all the band of the Hawk is like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah. So this is a thing that I'm pretty sure I've even mentioned before, but I'm just going to say it again because I love it. I love that the demons have such a nice, bold font anytime they talk, because it's really good. It just really shows how much more important they are.
Yeah.
At least to Mira, if nobody else. Yeah. Also, it makes you want to read their stuff more. Like, your eye gets drawn to it very, very quickly. Guts does what he always does and gets mad. But, like, I have to say, you have to respect a man who is in front of 4 demon gods that just pulls a knife out and says, "Shut the fuck up," essentially.
Yeah.
I love it because there's even like panels of them laughing at him or whatever.
Yeah, they're like,
it's so
like
good.
Sloan, whatever, has like her little wing like kind of covering her face, like.
Yeah,
they're all having a nice chuckle about it.
It's actually kind of a cute panel.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that before. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. The panel of her like holding her own or pinching her own nipples or whatever.
Yeah, like as she's holding her breasts.
Yeah, she's just like excited that he's gonna make a good sacrifice.
Yeah, like that's what lady demons do.
Yeah, that's true. Which is all of them, am I right? High five. Hey. So, yeah, I mean, as we probably guessed, at least I shouldn't talk for other people. As I guessed, the Beherit obviously summoned them. So, and the festival, the Eclipse was the inauguration of Griffith becoming the next Godhand, which is why it's called the egg of the king or whatever. Yeah, and they kind of just explain all of that out.
We do get, it's jumping ahead a bit, but it's hard to tell, and I think intentionally so, because like we get so much talk of causality, but for a lot of this we don't actually know how much of it is causality, right? Because like the eclipse they mentioned happens every 216 years, so like, was it destined to happen now like they say it was, or was it,
so it feels like now we're getting into the real meat about the themes that Berserk just in general is going to have with, and like a lot of them have to do with predestination, fate, and maybe fighting against that sort of thing, like depending on the characters or whatever. And I don't know is the thing, is that obviously this was going to happen. Somebody was going to be that. Now, is the causality the fact that this person in this situation as a kid, would it be the good groundwork because of like what he's going to become, or like this got me thinking a lot about what is fate and what is destiny. Is destiny that you are always going to be at this end point, or is it you will go to the down this road and the end point will be like, what's predetermined, your path or the destination? And it got me kind of wondering that about what's going here, because we know the destination was always going to be there's going to be a new Godhand or whatever. Like somebody's going to get that thing and they're going to be a demon or whatever, but maybe they reject it and it has to go another 10,000 years or whatever the fuck it is. I can't remember. So like, what is it? What is the causality that happened here? And we kind of start getting some, we get a bunch of stuff in a while here with Griffith kind of reliving or remembering a childhood that probably didn't exist the way he's being shown it.
Well,
yeah, it's hard to tell though, is that like, is the causality that Griffith was going to be here, or is the causality that somebody was going to be here at some point?
In the context of this, it's I would say it's like the path, not the decision. Like or maybe the fact that like the causality is that you will have to weigh this decision. Like you'll have a choice to make, and that I think the manga is telling us that like that choice is not necessarily set in stone. Are you cool like jumping into like that shit, like skipping around a little bit?
Yeah,
for that.
So this is going to be really hard to talk about if we don't.
Yeah,
because
it's like it comes up later.
Let's talk about the way, like the cool comic stuff and whatever after, because I think there are like scenes and cool things written here.
There's just so much and it's broken up.
But the whole discussion really, in my opinion, is what we are talking about now with like kind of the decision, or if it ever was a decision, and why Griffith and his past, and like it's everything to do with that situation and not so much what happens with the Band of the Hawk. That'll come later.
Yeah. So we have like Void especially being like, I mean, all lies within the currents of causality. Everything has been determined. All of your lives have been spun into the sacred point in time, the Eclipse.
Right.
So, and he's like super on that, and they keep going with that into Griffith's like dive into his mind that they bring him to, and he meets this fortune teller who's like, I mean, we can circle back to this stuff that he's going through like on that end, but as far as causality goes, like they're so far into it, but like at the end of this thing we see that the fucking fortune teller is just the demons it's two demons in a trench coat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, is it his destiny if like you bring him to this choice and then you insert yourselves into this memory and fucking like you're the snake in the garden, right? Like convincing him to do this.
But I mean, they also refer to themselves as angels. So like, I don't know. Demons be demons is kind of the thing, right? They're going to, the causality or the event that was always going to take place, as far as I can tell, is the eclipse, because as he even says, everything's been determined all your lives, blah blah blah, spun into the sacred point in time, the eclipse. The eclipse is the moment where everything that has been and will ever be kind of all hinges, right? So what they're doing here is obviously fucking with his mind, because it benefits them, and that's what demons do. They cheat.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, I think there's actually a good argument to be made that if the demons just brought him, Griffith, into this memory, and they didn't like insert themselves and fuck with themselves, like he's going through like the fucking classic journey sort of thing into your mind, right? Yeah. Like it's not like a new concept or whatever, and he has to like deal with his actions and like come out of it and make whatever decision. I think it's possible that he would have like made the morally correct choice at the end of this had they not. Because like, had they not interfered, because like he's guilty. He feels fucking guilty, and we see it constantly as he's like scratching the flesh off of his shoulders. So they're like, and meanwhile the whole time they're fucking poking at him and being like, you have to though, like all these corpses, like it's all for nothing.
Would it have been for nothing? Yeah,
they bring in Guts, who's saying like, ain't this part of the path to your dream? Like what's with thinking like this now of all times?
Sure, yeah.
And literally then it's just the facade of the fortune teller fades, and the demons are literally just like, before you become one of them, pile up the corpses. There's nothing else you can do.
Yeah. I mean, just straight up, they're wearing like a fortune teller mask and their voice changes.
Yeah.
That honestly, that panel is phenomenal. I really
love
that.
It's really good, dude. It's literally just them in a shawl.
And like they attacked the thing, arguably the only thing that we've really seen him have truly any like really sadness or regret or remorse from, the kid with the
they bring in the kid
or whatever. This is them totally stacking it in their favor. The thing though is that Griffith was always going to be open enough to make the decision. There, even without them, I think there's still a 50 like non-0% decision he takes the path that he totally takes here anyway.
Totally.
They just kind of pushed it a little bit. They made it like 70% instead or something.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, because they interfered, there's now, at least in the like in the context of like the discussing the manga, like there's always room for the interpretation that like the demons made him do it. Not entirely, obviously, but like you can argue that like Griffith is not bad enough to do this on his own.
He's not evil.
Maybe not successfully argue it, but like,
well, he's never been evil. Like,
yeah, not evil, just ambitious
and like maybe kind of shitty to some people,
ruthlessly efficient,
right?
I guess, but like, we don't. I mean, we don't see him being like
this.
An
literally shows that he has regret over even all of the things that he did. Which is why they're able to force kind of their hand in here to like...
Oh, totally.
Yeah. But arguably that's the reason, that's the causality, right? Is that Griffith was always going to be this person that is broken. Griffith, without the broken body, doesn't get to this point. If he is in his shining armor here, he is definitely less than 50% willing to take this thing because he's so close to his dream normally anyways. He's not, I mean, first of all, the Beher just wouldn't activate at this point, but like this is arguably the fate is the fact that this man will get so broken that he will make this decision anyway. So it's hard to tell because they stack in their favor.
The other kicker regarding causality is that later on, when they get fucking interrupted, right?
Yeah.
Skull Knight shows up, and then immediately the demons are like, oh, well, that was unexpected. Can't predict everything. It's no matter. Like, they spend a full volume or whatever talking about how causality is like rigid and critical. And then when it gets gets broken, they just don't. They brush it aside immediately
because they're liars. Just straight. Yeah, that's what demons do. The thing is that when you are a broken human, you will take any rope that's given to you, and that's just real life.
So that actually brings me to a good thing that I wanted to bring up regarding themes, and I wanted to bring it up like every single episode that we've recorded.
Yeah,
and I needed to wait until this.
Sure.
I want to check basically the idea that intentional or not, Mira uses water as like a space of transition, which again is kind of nothing new. Like the thing that jumps out to me is like Constantine, right, where he has his feet in the water to visit the realm of the dead or whatever.
Right, it's kind
common
of
shit.
It's a kind of like traditional. People have always been afraid of water, right? Just for different reasons, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So we get that idea. Remember ages ago when we see Kid Guts laying in the water and there's the moon above him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we see Griffith and there's like the sunset and he's in the water and they both have to come to a decision about their lives, kind of. Yeah. And we see Kid Guts like pressing on and Griffith like just crumbling. Not that, one is necessarily more resolute because the situations are wildly fucking different, but just that Mir is very good.
Yeah. And is it also still water?
In that case, yeah. In that case,
all of
yes.
Those cases?
But we also see some other instances that I've noted this whole time. The first time when we get the idea that like Guts might be the monster, right? Which we get several times, like people being scared of him or like
don't
that
get,
sort of shit.
Like, don't get it twisted. Guts is a monster. He's just on our side.
Yeah.
He is straight up just as bad as these demons if you were a demon.
But the first time we get that is after he kills the kid by accident, when he hears the footsteps outside of the door and his assassination thing. And he's standing in the sewer drainage pipe or whatever the hell, standing in the water having those thoughts.
Okay.
For his becoming like closer to the Band of the Hawk and like kind of actually feeling camaraderie, even if he like doesn't really fully understand it or whatever. Like he's having a water fight with Griffith. He gets fucking one of the first, I guess, moments where he's like, what's the word? Like friendly, I guess, whatever, with people. Like when he is standing outside of that door talking to whoever and the door opens and he gets shoved into the water. That whole thing, like the if I recall correctly, the tunnel like from the graveyard to the castle area or whatever, that has water in the bottom as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like a sewer of some sort.
Yeah, another drainage, sewage, whatever. Like that whole literally transitioning like between that whole thing, wading through the water and like him training and realizing like what he wants out of life, like under the waterfall and all that shit. Like it comes up so many times and I love it.
Their use of water. Yeah.
Just the fact that like all these transitional moments are like character building or realizing stuff, like it's all water just all the time. I want to write I'm literally tempted to just write a full essay on it.
Yeah, I think there also might be symbolism in, the points that you talked about where they're kind of deciding, I don't know, their future or like where they're kind of at a crossroads on their own water. Is it always still water? Like it's not flowing in any specific direction. It's just kind of there.
I mean, for those two instances, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something to keep in mind going forward to look if that continues to be the case. But yeah, like when Guts is lying there under the moon, like that water is still, because that's like a shallow pond something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
And
like
Griffith,
stuff like that is definitely a thing creators do. Maybe even not for like other people, but for themselves or whatever, to kind of set the mood. So one of the things that this reminds me of, and that I just found kind of interesting, this is a huge tangent, so bear with me for a moment. The Office, the American version, when they do the talking heads parts where they like talk to a person or whatever, they frame those people based on kind of like their relationship with the company in that moment or episode. So for like Jim, they said like a lot of the times he's filmed next to like that window looking out into the real world because he's kind of like not a company man or something, where like a lot of the other ones like Dwight, say they film those talking heads where he's at the window looking into the office, and that like follows for the whole series essentially.
Oh shit.
And like that sort of stuff is super interesting, and the type of thing that if you put it up in Reddit, people would say you're a fucking psychopath for like noticing that and thinking that or whatever. It's probably just a coincidence, but like this is stuff that has been on that like terrible Office podcast that I listened to too many episodes of because I was starved for media while I was playing through Elden Ring. And that sort of information, though, was confirmed by writers of the show and showrunners. Like that stuff is 100% things creators put in there that like people will say that you're reading too far into. So it would not surprise me if Mira's use of water is very much a way to kind of symbolize either like inner ideas or turmoil or their path in life or like any of that sort of stuff as well. That definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah. Oh, it's, I mean, it'll be like another thing on the bingo card, probably like going forward, checking off every time it happens. Cause it does, even in some of the far later, like my memory is hazy on a very large chunk of this, but there are even a few times where I'm like, oh shit, that's another thing. Like,
sure.
So it'll be something to point out now, but I'm like, I can't talk about this idea until we get to the Eclipse.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer too, because it would like, I totally understand why. I kind of wish that I was able to like take a look at that stuff though the whole time with you and notice, because maybe I would have noticed stuff, but there's no way you can really do that without maybe ruining something or like maybe taking too much emphasis off like what's happening when you have to like look for little stuff. It's better to just probably let me experience it whatever way first. So yeah, no. So but like that's kind of the whole theme though, right? Is causality. First of all, they're liars, they're demons. To any sane person, sure, we know that, but I've definitely been in situations where if somebody said like, if you killed your brother or whatever, we can get you out of this, and I would have seriously considered it. Like, people have problems and will reach for anything that's given to them, or at least consider it seriously. Griffith in this position, I don't think was ever not going to at least consider doing the thing he does, but it definitely helps when you have people goading you or telling you it'll be okay. This is what it was all coming down to anyways, even whether or not that was true. And frankly, I'm not kind of a person that believes in a predetermined path necessarily. I do believe in predetermined destinations, but like we can choose how we get there and like what we do with it, sort of thing. So, but yeah. So that
I don't know where
that was one of the big talks I definitely wanted to have about all of this stuff here. It's really hard to talk about what happens here. So Griffith is on the brink of making a decision. Let's talk about some art and some other shit going on.
Then we need to roll back. I don't know what
rolling
page.
Back a lot.
The one where the demons start turning from human shapes into their demon forms, and we get the double spread where it just says despair. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So this I felt this scene specifically, for those following along at home, it's 146 and 147. I believe this is the payoff to all the times that we saw a big landscape and all we saw were armies and a castle and like kind of boring shit. Because now it's like, oh, it's a landscape, all right. Look at all of this shit.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is ridiculous too. It's hard to explain where, but on page 146 on the like left side of the page, there's like a heron with bat wings and just like the goofiest face for a stomach or something at the top. And it's weird. Like some of this stuff isn't even really that creepy. It's just stupid looking.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a little in the foreground on the left side. There's like the fucking little. It's like a caterpillar with a couple of little wings and like a little face. Like there's just wonky shit.
Yeah, but yeah. So that page is absolutely insane. The transformation pages and panels up to that too, where the faces are starting to like distort more and eyeballs are getting big and arms are kind of like cracking into different positions, and it's just fucking disgusting. We get to the despair page, but then the next page, the like vertical image. Oh my god, it is so metal. It's like, so awesome.
Dude, this shit is like, it's so fucking good. Like, it's just crazy. No, it's definitely the payoff. Like, all the detail we've talked about were like, there was no reason to draw like 10,000 horses, but it was done.
Yeah.
Or like all this intricate line work on the armor every fucking time just applied to not, and like before, like I was going to say demons, but like, the thing is, a lot of the demons we've seen for the last however many volumes, with the exception of the Black Swordsman arc, like, they've been kind of normal. Like, Zod is a demon, but he's like a early 80s, like, metal album demon,
he's like,
you know?
He's like a minotaur with wings, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, even Wild, when he transforms, like, he's fucking weird, but, like, it's one big freaky yeti dude. This is literally just like eldritch, like the space in between the stars is monsters shit. Like,
it's stuff that we actually can't describe what it looks like. Like, we could get close for some of it, but it's actually indescribable monsters. Yeah, I love it.
It's fucking good. And this does, like, I mean, it almost has to be well, no, because like Lovecraft would also be the influence, but like it makes me think of the thing in an Adventure Time that like stands out of the entire series, where like the Lich is he's talking about like the before the universe was created. He's like, before time there was nothing, and before nothing there was monsters. It's like that, but like horrifying and cool instead of colorful and wonky.
Sure, yeah. Totally. Just horrific shit. I love that, like, anytime there's a background drawn as well, it's just a background of monstrous just faces and tentacles, and like there's on the next page from the one we were talking about, there's like a kind of close up of Griffith, well, with Gus just being like, they're gonna turn you into one of these or whatever. And like there's just a picture of Griffith looking kind of like shocked, and behind him is just all the like a wall of monsters.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Void in front of the Eclipse is fucking phenomenal. The silhouette of them in front of the Eclipse is fucking phenomenal. And then we get one of the coolest things about all of this, where the altar comes up.
Bring them to the altar.
Yeah, the altar, just with where Guts and Griffith were on the ground, just shoots up like really fast into this tower of like faces and skulls or demon heads or whatever the fuck is going on. Apparently the effects is goal for that. And the altar, or the pillar and altar, we find out is just a giant arm and hand at the top with the 4 members of the Godhand on the pinky, index, and middle finger and thumb, with like the index finger not having one. And the symbolism there is also extremely good. It's very, very good. The art is just I'm just like so excited. Cool, yeah.
Yeah, man. No, it's fucking 3 things.
Yeah.
When they're going up, like Griffith is being pulled because he's the
one of the mouths has his like fucked up arm in it.
Yeah, and Guts is like falling because they don't care about him, obviously, and he's hanging on to Griffith and has to let go because he sees Griffith's arm like fucking pulling apart because it was barely there anyway.
Yeah.
So that's happening, and Guts, like, to catch himself, shoves his knife into the side of this thing, except it's all faces. So he's like splitting through and blood's coming out, and then we get the sound effect, which implies that it's just like screaming. Like the faces are all screaming.
Oh, I didn't even they're like, ah.
Yeah. And then the last thing is just like kind of a dumb little thing that I think I didn't notice until now. The panel with the hand, right? Yeah. Where we get the nice silhouette and all that shit. Look at all the faces around Guts' legs. They're all like smiley faces. They're just straight up like,
are they
little
really?
emojis? They're just like little emojis.
Oh my god. There are definitely a bunch of smiley faces.
Some of them are literally just like :D smiley face. Like they're actually happy. It's so funny.
Wow. Yeah. I guess like some people would like being a tower hand. I don't know.
I mean,
some demons.
Yeah, you know, all the little face like, oh, it's so warm. Join us.
Join us. Yeah. That shit is so fucking cool. The thing I need to talk about that is just one of the like kickers for me is page 161, 160. It's like, I don't know, 80% of the double page spread. It's hand with the like eclipse and the ball of souls or whatever around the eclipse forming kind of an eye, and all the demons just below in the landscape. And like there's even little silhouettes of the horses and people of the hawk or whatever.
The sense of I'm a fucking slut for scales like that.
Yeah,
like I like big monsters and shit, and they're never fucking big enough. And here it's just like, look how fucking big these demons are.
Yeah, I like big bones, and I cannot lie.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Yeah, I guess like the imagery and stuff is kind of cool in Griffith's dream state or his memory or whatever. The land he's on and the road he kind of walks on, just in general, are all made up of bodies, like corpses or whatever, and that's kind of part of the whole. They're like, you're building a road or whatever to the castle, and this is all you have to do it is the bodies, and it would have been for nothing. That's all like that sort of thing there. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a very like horrifying and very well done like version of this, I guess, trope or whatever. Like taking your mind journey to do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's kind of where we left off before we moved back and just said a bunch of cool shit. There's more cool shit, but I think it's important to get to like what actually happens for the rest of this thing here. The decision has to be made. Well, kind of. It's kind of being made for him, if I'm going to be honest with you, but like it's there. So they say to him that wasn't an illusion because first of all, his thoughts can be read by the demons, so he can talk essentially here. And they're saying these are constructs like made in your mind or whatever. The reality within your conscious realm is what they say. And like, that's actually you. You're eyeing up the castle or whatever. You're building up to it by piling up the corpses, thousands of comrades, 10,000s of corpses or whatever. And it just kind of shows his path that he's gone down, just the wars. And like, there's this one kind of terrible, sad scene of just a like child holding a skeleton in the ruins of war, obviously, and all that sort of stuff. And this is the big moment where they're saying that your path has, or your desire, you've been on your path for your desire and it's been interrupted, but we have like, it's okay. We can get you there, essentially. Look at all these people that are here with you. Just sacrifice them and everything you've worked towards will be complete, essentially. Like,
well, the way they say it though, where they're like appealing to his affection for his group, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like, as they shake with fear, they gaze up at you, and they're like, they should forgive you. Even now, as they're crushed by despair, they should welcome you warmly. Then you can go on living. Commit your wounded self to them. Bury everything in exchange for the past. Like, that whole idea of like,
they're doing it for them.
If you give up now, like, then what is all this for? Like, they'll be suffering because they've done so many things, and now you're giving up. You're just gonna like let it die. They'll never forgive you.
Yeah.
So that writing is so fucking good. Also.
This whole part is very, very good because they're appealing to, this is kind of not a lie, any of this stuff. So the demons were definitely fucking with him in the memory realm or whatever, and they're definitely manipulating him here, but they're kind of doing it in a more reverse psychology way or whatever. Like, you could go back down to them. They'll probably forgive you, even though you're useless and nothing, and all this was nothing. And like, you can just throw it all away, the ruins of your dream. But even now, you see it. Even now, the castle is in your eyes, dazzling more than anything. Like, they're just saying, like, you know that you can go down there, but we can feel that you want to see this through. Like, you still are holding on to that dream. And that all you have to do is say the words, I sacrifice, and you'll get it.
In your heart.
In your heart, yeah. And,
dude, the panel of him saying all you have to do is say the words I sacrifice, it's so fucking good.
Oh my god, it's so good.
The shading and detail is so fucking incredible. How it's like in the back of the brand. Oh god, what a good panel.
Also, Voight's hands being at the bottom of his cloak is really disturbing. I don't like it.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like a skeleton hand coming out of the bottom.
Yeah, that scene too. The castle in your eyes more dazzling than anything, of just like the fire and him kind of like looking up at it with Void pointing at it in the sky.
Yeah. Oh, that shit's great.
All of this imagery. All of this imagery is so fucking good. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, if that castle is still what you desire, blah, blah, blah. And then fucking Guts finally gets to the top and yells. And we get the last thing of like Griffith saying, you're the one, you're the only one. Among thousands of comrades and tens of thousands of enemies, you're the only one who made me forget my dream. And the fucking top tier decision to like, it's just the white page with like almost an outline, but still with some shading of Griffith. And just the fact that we get the back 2/3 of the word sacrifice, it's just like crifice. It's so good. I've thought about that a lot.
So
like,
I'm not going to lie to you. I went through these pages about 5 times trying to see if he said "sa" somewhere.
Yeah, like I sa.
Yeah,
And the fact that no, it's like just in his heart, literally, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a very good decision. And then suddenly,
not the one he makes, for people listening. The one Griffith makes, the one the artists make.
The one the artists make, yeah.
It's a horrible decision that Griffith makes.
No, it makes sense. Griffith did nothing wrong.
Well, no, it does make sense, is the thing. That's why this is such a good villain story. Because it's too relatable. I've definitely been in situations where I would have sacrificed shit I love to get out of them. There's one that is a thing. And like so I will give them one thing. The people that say you shouldn't read the Black Swordsman arc first. If you didn't, you wouldn't have known right away when this all started, the decision that gets made.
Yeah.
I'll give you guys that. You're right. This part would have maybe been like, holy shit.
And that's maybe that's the argument. Instead of saying skip the Black Swordsman arc to increase the impact of some of this, like maybe the thing is to watch the anime. Because
sure,
the anime gives us less of the Black Swordsman.
Yeah.
It gives us enough to establish that demons are a thing, but it's far more oh shit, this Griffith person did something. And it's less we don't get the whole thing with dude sacrificing or not sacrificing Teresa, right?
Yeah.
So enough to give you the taste, but not enough to let you know necessarily what's going to happen. So that maybe is also why knowing nothing and getting to this point, I was just losing my fucking mind.
Sure. Yeah. Sacrifice happens. We get an image of the hand closing, and we get kind of the last moment we're ever going to see Griffith, essentially.
Kind of one last almost soft. I mean, ways to
it's a tragedy.
It again.
Yeah, it's super somber.
It looks like a soft, sad smile almost, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's hard after everything that happens. It's hard not to read it as a fuck you guts. I'm better than you.
All of this is
a bit of hatred.
Guts, for
I
sure.
guess, yeah. It's that whole time. It doesn't have to be love or hate. It's both.
It's both for sure. Yep.
The hand close and fucking the threads bundled by the laws of causality have now been bound. Fucking brands shoot out and hit every single member of the Band of the Hawk.
Yeah.
And then we get that panel of the despair panel, except this time all the demons are fucking moving towards
except for hard
foreground.
to look at because it's really intensely drawn with lines.
Yeah. It's just a fucking mess, even messier than it was before. Yeah, everybody gets branded.
Yep. Which is good because it's feast time. There's nothing tastier than a brand.
I just realized the fucking panel where it says the feast.
Yeah.
The thing is about to lick its own tentacle dong.
I mean, don't act like you haven't tried. Don't even start.
I mean, if mine was a tentacle, God help me. Nothing would be done.
If mine was a tentacle, I probably wouldn't try because that would really freak me out.
These demons fucking R.I.P. to anybody without a name in this series.
And even some with.
Well, the ones with, but the ones without a name, there's no hope. There's nothing. They're just instantly shattered.
Yeah. So this is again just a chapter that if you're reading the manga, you should just look at it because what it is a feast. It's literally a feast for your eyes. It is just people being completely fucking devoured and destroyed in every way by demons.
Yeah. We get a little of like Guts trying to stab through the hand around Griffith.
Yeah, he's trying to save Griffith. Is the thing.
But at the same time, he's wondering like, is this what you really wanted?
Yeah,
Like, you wouldn't be here if you didn't want it at some level. And then he looks over and sees, I fucking love that shot. Him like looking and seeing all the demons in the air, like going at, and like on the ground, just descending upon his comrades.
yeah.
And then makes the decision to go help. Well, I mean, he makes the decision to turn into blurry line art Guts, which is never good for anyone else.
So this is definitely Berserk Super Saiyan mode for sure. Yeah. He just clenches his teeth. His fucking sword is broken, and the image of him just like going Super Saiyan, it's so good.
Yeah, no, it's good shit. We get the teeth gritting.
Yeah,
and then just fucking, it's Berk time. It's Berserkin time.
it's Berserkin time. Meanwhile, outside of the Eclipse,
yeah, we see where everybody actually is, and it's just like this fucking multi-tiered cyclone with lightning coming out of it, like on the pond, lake, null area where they were.
It looks like if you took two wizard hats and kind of stacked them on top of each other.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, no, that's a
pretty simple way
like
to
the
describe
clouds are like circling around it because the air and shit.
Yeah. Then we get this amazing shot
Top
of
tier.
Rickert noticing or hearing something, looking over. There's two figures kind of, I guess, in front of the cyclone. And we get a close-up of what that is. And it is Zod squaring off with the Skull Knight on his horse.
Dude, it's so good.
And that is where we end this volume and this podcast. But, man, there's some shit to come. So get ready for the next one. I guess next week if you're listening to this then.
It's so fucking good, dude.